What is your name?
David Cuperfain.
Could you spell that, please?
Cuperfain.
And when were you born?
May 20th, 1930.
And how old are you today?
I'm 66.
And where were you born?
Kovel, Poland. It's the eastern part of Poland.
Could you spell that, please?
Kowel.
Was it near any larger town?
It was about 200 kilometers from Lvov, or as it was known, Lemberg. Basically, there was no big towns around us.
What was the population?
It's about 45,000.
And how many of those were Jews?
Hard for me to remember. I think it was about 15 or 20,000 Jews. A lot of little shtibbles and synagogues and rabbis. But it wasn't a Hasidic city.
What were the Jews like there?
Jews like Jews are everywhere. There was nothing special about them. They congregated in one area, mostly, and we lived in the same place. It's, you know, I still remember the number and the street. 63 Ludzka Street, and that's where I lived.
Was that a house or an apartment?
It was a house attached to the factory that father owned, so we lived next to it.
And what was your father's name?
Aaron Cuperfain.
And your mother?
Frida Fruman, in Jewish. Now she got the name of Frida.
And what did your father do?
Father was a entrepreneur, but he was also an industrialist. He and his uncle Noah owned 2 factories from which vegetable oil factories made from seeds, rapeseed, sunflower seeds, and linseed.
Where did they get these seeds from?
The flower seeds used to come from Romania. The others came from different areas of Poland.
Did your father trade with others?
Yes, father, he used to sell throughout Poland his oil. And I found out after the war from my uncle that before the war, in 1939, their net worth was estimated at $1.25 to $1.5 million US, which is a substantial amount in today's money. They were very, very wealthy. But they were also great philanthropists. And supported. Sorry. They supported many charitable organizations in Kabul.
Can you name a few?
I can. I was only 9 years old, 10 years old, so I can't remember. But remarkably, father knew how to make a plaster with oil and some other things that he used to put on. So when somebody got a bad burn, they used to come to father and he would make this plaster which is applied to the burn, and no matter how busy he makes that plaster. This I remember.
What was the uncle's name?
Noah. There was a synergy between them. Noah was a financial man. Father was a technical man. Noah looked after the selling. Father was in charge of production. And he was also innovative in many ways. And I remember he invented or designed a particular piece of machinery which was used in the plant. It was a very crude way of doing things because technology was very elementary, but he did it, and it was his pride and joy that he designed this particular piece of machinery. And people from other parts of Poland used to come and look at this piece of equipment that Father designed and implemented in the plant.
Do you remember what that machine did?
I think it grind and squeezed the seeds in a more feasible and more economical way than the others. But it's a long time ago.
And Noah was his brother? Or
Noah was his older brother. Noah was the finance person, the wheeler dealer. Father was a down-to-earth person. I remember when the oil used to be shipped in cakes, barrels, big barrels, and the barrels were rolled up on top of a wagon. And there were workers that would roll it up. Everything was done by hand because there wasn't too much equipment. And whenever a barrel, Father would pass by and a barrel was being rolled, he would stop and help to roll it up. And he was able to boost, which was unheard of for a person of his stature to do the thing, but Father did it. The workers never referred to him as Rab Superfine, always called him Rab Aaron. No matter who, there was always Mr. Aaron or Rab Aaron, Pani Aaron, which is in Polish, but never by his last name. He was a very approachable and gentle person.
do you remember how many employees he had?
It's about 80 or 100 people were working there.
Did you visit the factory?
Oh yes, I was always in the factory. I was always in the factory. After school, that's where I would spend my days, in the factory. And I did a lot of mischief too. But
Could you tell us some of those examples?
oh yes, I remember once I needed some ink. And in those days, they used to use a pens and dip the pen in a inkwell. And I need some ink for my schoolwork, so I went down to get some ink, and I spilled some ink on some of the ledgers. Father wasn't very happy with me.
How did he discipline you?
Well, you let it go. But he wasn't very happy with me. I couldn't go. I wasn't allowed to go to the office for a long time.
Did you have any brothers or sisters?
No, I was the only son, the only child, rather.
And your father, did he have any other brothers or
Yeah,
sisters?
Father had Nor and 3 sisters. One name was Leah. One was Sonia. I don't remember that one.
What about your mother? Did she have brothers and sisters?
Mother had one brother and two sisters and one half-sister. The brother was, his name was Yankel, or he came here to change his name to Jan. She had a sister named Rivke and Gittel, and a half-sister named Rachel. I'm sorry, Rachel. Rivke was a half-sister, Rachel was a full sister.
Do you remember your grandparents?
Yes, I remember my grandparents. But I don't remember my father's mother because she died before I was born. But I remember all my other grandparents very well. The story I like to tell is my mother's grandfather used to smell tobacco. Sniff tobacco. And I was about in grade 1 or grade 2, and he was visiting us, and I said, Zadie, let me sniff the tobacco. So he gave me, and I sniffed it. I went to school, and during my intermission, I come outside, and there was Zadie, and he says, what did you do with my with my tobacco pishke? I said, I haven't got it. I gave it back. He says, no, you didn't give it back to me. You must have it. So I said, I haven't got it. And I said, Zadie, wie oud is Mittwoch? I haven't got it. So he says, Zadie, you're telling a lie. Today is not Mittwoch. Today is Dienstag. They found the tobacco fell in between the cracks in the bed. But it's one of those incidents that you remember, especially when he caught me swearing by a lie. Today is not Mittwoch, today is Dienstag. He died in 1936.
What was his name?
Aaron. His name and father's name were the same, both Aaron. My other grandfather's name was Avrom. That was my father's father. He died in 34, 35. I remember sitting on his knee, and he was teaching me Moed Ani and also Shema Israel. He died. He used to say that we lived too far away from the factory. The factory was next door, but this is too far. We should have the bed right in the factory if you want to run a successful business. My grandmother died on the father's side in some place in the 20s before I was born. My grandmother on my mother's side, she was a remarkable lady. My mother told me that I remember this too, she used to go on the street and say psalm by heart. And rumor had it that she knew all 150 capitals of psalm by heart. If there's some hyperbole in it or not, I don't know, but I remember her walking and saying Tehillim.
She was a religious woman.
Not in a Fachnakivid way. As you see on the picture, she was a modern woman, but religious, of course, in a very traditional way, as was all my parents. Father was not extremely religious. Father didn't put on towels and film during the week, but he went to shul on Shabbos. They observed Shabbos, but everybody observed Shabbos. It wasn't a great deal. One incident which sticks in my mind, and it was my uncle Noah. There was a carload of seeds at the railway station, and they had to unload it and bring it to the warehouse. It was Friday evening, and the foreman who was Jewish kept the other people who were also Jewish working into Friday Shabbos. And the Lord was so mad. How can you make Jews working Shabbos? That incident sticks in my mind. The poor farmer said, I was trying to save you money. He says, never mind saving my money, you don't let Jews work Shabbos. And of course, in 1940, when the Russians came in, they confiscated the factories, threw us out from our apartment. It was a very, very traumatic period. Father took it very hard. It was his life, everything was in this factory. He knew every nut, every bolt, every brick. I remember the last Friday, before we had to move off from our apartment, Father made Kiddush. I started to cry. He was such a gentleman. Anyway, April 11th, 1940.
I'd like to go back to when you were still a child and talk about you as a child. And what was your grandmother's name?
Anne.
What school did you go to?
I went to Tarbut School, which was Hebrew. Everything was taught in Hebrew. And 1 hour a day, we were taught in Polish. But all the instructions were given in Hebrew. By the time, by 1939, I was fluent as a 9-year-old kid can be, but I spoke Hebrew quite effectively. One incident happened in 1939 which always stuck with me. I want to relay this. My spelling was very poor when I started in grade 3, but I kept working and working and working. And by the end of the year, I got a 5 in spelling Hebrew. And I came home. I was so happy. And I said, Tata, look, I got a 5. And he was sitting and didn't react. He was eating dinner. And I said to him, you think I got a 5 because die bist a reicher man, because you're a rich man? And Father nodded his head. And that hurt me so much. I earned that 5. I knew I earned that 5. But to this day, that hurts.
Why do you think he answered that way?
I don't know. He thought there was favoritism, but it wasn't. Because when I failed originally at the beginning of the year, I got a 2, which is a failure. But as wonderful as they were, they did not know child psychology. It was quite alien to them. As wonderful as they were, tenderness was absent. The only tenderness I really got was from my Aunt Gutta. Emotions were kept under tight reins.
Did you do things with your parents? Did they take you places?
Yeah, we used to go places. We used to have vacations and go to Warsaw or go to the Carpets Mountains And but it was limited. It wasn't the same as modern parents now do with their children. It's not the same amount of love and affection, open affection, that I gave my children. I missed it. And in retrospect, I still miss it. But this was the way. And that's the way they operated. But I always felt that I'm falling short of my father's expectation. And I always strive to be better. And if I would say, Tati, I'm doing it for you. So if I'm trying to better myself, if I'm trying to be a better person, it's for him.
And what did he say to you when you said that to him?
Oh, I didn't say then. It's since. This in the last 50 years. I'm still trying to earn his respect and admiration wherever he is. Sorry. He was taken away from me too early. I was only 9, too early.
Did you experience any anti-Semitic incidents growing up?
Yes, and in Poland it was quite prevalent. There was Żydzi, which means Jews, are not welcome here. There was a lot of restaurants, not restaurants, but the stores where Jews weren't allowed. There were some schools, Polish schools, where the Jews were not, where there was discrimination, it was quotas. So we had our own school, we had a good gymnasium to go. We had our own tribute, but when it came to going to university, the discrimination was prevalent. There were quotas. I didn't experience because I was very small at that time. But still I remember signs on parks. You go home, you go to Israel. And you grow up in an atmosphere knowing that you were a Jew, that you were a oppressed minority. It was inbred in me from a very early age.
Did you have Polish friends?
No. I didn't have any Polish friends, but I didn't go to any Polish school. The school I went was a Hebrew school, Tarbut school. So no, I had no Polish friends.
Do you remember any of your friends from school?
Well, I had a cousin of mine who was going to sing great as I was. I forgot his name now. And that's about all I remember now. But he was killed. I should say he was killed. He didn't survive, which obviously he was killed.
Do you remember any of your teachers?
Yes. I remember one particular teacher in grade 3. And She came to visit me once I was sick. And mother asked her, how is David doing in school? In front of me. So she says, well, he should know. So I said, I don't know. And she said to me something then which always stuck with me. If you don't know, then nobody can tell you. She said it to me in 1939, I believe. It's a long time ago.
Do you remember her name?
No. But I can see her. She was a very pretty lady. She was in her late 30s. Very, very pretty. But if you don't know, then nobody can tell you.
Do you know what happened to her?
No, well, I left Kovel. She probably got killed. I left Kovel in 1940, after father was arrested. And I don't know what's happening, but she's not alive. Or maybe she is. I know she survived. I lost touch.
Do you remember any other teachers from school?
Before the war, yeah, I had a teacher in grade 1, and he was a very, very nice person, very stern, very stern. But in grade 2, I had a teacher. He was short, chubby, fat, couldn't control the class. We were running circles around him. I remember before the war, I used to have a rabbi used to come and teach me Chumash. This man would never look at a woman straight. He would lower his head. But when he talked to someone, he would always stand. So if he would sit there and study the Chumash with me, and if mother would came in and talk to him, he would stand up.